Hello and welcome to my Diablo Immortal Legend Tempest build. And I wanted to share this build with you to help you reach Legend. I believe this is one of the best builds right now, meta for Tempest. And let's get started. So Tempest is one of my favorite class. It's fun in PvP. Has a lot of damage, a lot of burst damage. And what's most important for Tempest to increase your damage. And we're gonna get started for PvP. Let me give you a quick demonstration. So for Tempest, the most important stats is critical hit chance. So you want to have 60 and above percent critical hit chance. And then critical hit damage, try to get as high as you can. And currently my critical hit damage is 74%. And you get critical hit damage from armor penetration as well. So I get 53% critical hit damage for armor penetration. And then for my stats, my gear. So you can get critical hit damage if you use blood flow. My blood flow gives me 32% critical hit damage. And then some of my runes gives me critical hit damage. My Reforges gives me a critical hit damage as well. So I use the Reforge that gives me critical hit damage. So critical hit damage is very important for PvP and critical hit chance. Those are one of the most important stats for Tempest. These are my Reforges. I use Vengeance and Jolt set. Vengeance increases my damage. So the critical hit damage, this one right here, it gets striving PvP. So try to get as high as you can. And it's important to increase your critical hit chance, critical hit damage. Another important stat that is very important is attack speed. So currently I have 60% attack speed. And what attack speed is, increases your damage per second. So it makes you very bursty in PvP. And fights don't last that long, most of the fights. So increasing your attack speed is very good for PvP. So critical hit chance, critical hit damage, attack speed. These are very important stats for PvP. And then when it comes to armor penetration, our most important stat for armor penetration is armor penetration and potency. So this armor penetration increases your critical hit damage and ignores the enemy armor. So this is our first priority. Next would be potency. So this helps with your bleeds, burn effects, and your CC. And then another important stat is armor. So you want to increase this as well. Armor reduces damage you take. But our first priority would be armor penetration. Second would be potency and armor. So I'm trying to get my armor penetration to 5,000 at least, a minimum 5,000. And then I'm working on getting my potency at 4,000. And then armor, I'm trying to get to at least like 6,000. So to increase your, if we look at attributes, so fortitude increases your armor and armor penetration. So fortitude is very important. You want to have that in your items, in your gear set items. And willpower, increasing your potency and resistance. So fortitude, willpower, these are very important stats to have for PvP. So those are my attributes. And then movement speed. Try to get your movement speed up. You can get it from legendary gems, from set items. Some of the items have movement speed. If you get a good roll with movement speed, so your goal is to have around 40% movement speed and above. So movement speed is another good stat to have for PvP. So when it comes to familiar, I use a cat, and I like having a cat because it gives me a shield. And you want to make sure it has savior, so it gives you immunity to damage for a short period of time. So cat is a really good option for PvP. And then for warband, When I play Tempest, I use Attacker, increases damage down by 3.5%. And I have Remnants that increase attack speed, critical hit chance. And this one is really nice, increase all damage dealt by 6%. So let me show you my skills. So for a primary skill, I like using Wave Edge. And the reason why is because I like the distance and it doesn't get me in trouble. Wind Edge, some players prefer to use Wind Edge because of the teleport. But if you're not careful enough, you can teleport on a Barb or Crusader and you can end up dying. So choice is yours. Wind Edge does more damage for a single target. Wave Edge hits enemies in front of you in cone shape. So it kind of does like a AoE damage. I prefer Wave Edge, but choice is yours. And then we use Rolling Surf for our damage and Crosswinds for our damage. And then Vortex, we use Vortex. And this is good with the Essence. Vortex now causes gears to erupt from the ground underneath random enemies every second, dealing damage and knocking them into air. So this is a great build. And then we use Breaker. And with the Essence, Breaker now makes you untargetable as you dash, dealing damage along your path. So this is really good. And then with the other Essence, Breaker also grants you a shield for 2 seconds that absorbs damage and makes you immune to next loss control effect. So Breaker is really good with this build. So the way I play is whenever I engage in a fight, I have my Rolling Surf up, put my Vortex up, and I use Crosswinds and I do damage. And I dash around to have my shield up and my immunity CC. Another important stat is cooldown reduction. Right now I'm at 15%. I used to have it at 18%, but the higher you get it, better. I recommend you get it to 18-20%. So yeah, cooldown reduction is another important stat to have. And let me show you my essences. So for Helm, we use Unyielding Vision. For our shoulders, we use Mandate. Breaker also grants you a shield for 2 seconds that absorbs damage and makes you immune to next loss control effect. And then for our chest, we use Overflow. And then for our main hand, we use Sky Partner. Hurricane Hitch for our offhand. Mistwalkers for our leggings. And this is great because Breaker makes you untargetable. And you can dash around really fast and players can target you. So it's really great for PvP. And Shriekward for our other main hand. And then for our offhand, we use Vortex, Glory of the Satira, I believe that's how I call it, Glory of the Satira. And Vortex also increases your primary attack speed by 28.5%. So increasing our attack speed is really important because it increases our damage per second. And that's really good for PvP. And now let me show you my Paragon. So with my Paragon, I use Gladiator. I use Grizzle Veteran and Victor. And this gives us a damage increase and damage reduction. And then whenever you defeat a player, the bonus increased by 12%. And then I use Whole Formation, and this skill gives us damage reduction, and it stacks 3 times. So we get 7.5% damage reduction. And then we use Uncontrollable, and this one stays active and makes you immune to 1 loss control effect. And it has a short cooldown, 30 seconds. And then we have Cheat Death. And then for a legendary skill, I'm using the new skill, Rolling Strike, and this is great because every 10 seconds you have a knockback effect on your enemies. And since we use primary attacks as Tempest, Rolling Surface considers a primary attack, and then when you move around, so Tempest move around a lot, it's really easy to generate the energy, and you will always have the knockback effect ready every 10 seconds. So this is great for PvP. I highly recommend you use it. And then when it comes to our set items, I'm using a 4-piece gloom. Increases damage down by 15% for 3 seconds after using that skill, and increases your critical hit chance by 22.5% for 3 seconds after using a dash skill. So gloom set is really nice, increases your damage by a lot. And then we use 4-piece Vitas, and this increases our beneficial effect duration and increases our legendary gems, and then our skills beneficial effect duration as well. And then it gives us increased 30% attack speed increase. So if we look at so this triggers whenever you use a beneficial effect, so like a buff. So every time you use a buff skill, increases your attack speed by 30%. So attack speed is very important for Tempest. And buff skills are Rolling Surf, considered a buff skill. Crosswinds is a buff skill. And then I'm using Colossus Engine, and I believe this is a really good gem. It's a S tier. And this one it triggers when you use a buff skill, and increases your skill damage, increases your size, and it gives you immunity to knockback effects. And this is a really good gem. And then Bottle Hope, the same thing with this gem. It triggers whenever you use a buff skill, so like Rolling Surf, Crosswinds. This gem triggers and increases your damage and movement speed, and you get a skill cooldown reduction. So these are good gems. And then we have Blossom Jade, and Blossom Jade, it's S tier as well. This is a really good gem. A lot of players use it. And then Bluff Flow, if you have Bluff Flow, I highly recommend you use it because it increases your damage and critical hit damage. So these are great gems. And then Rolling Consequence is another good S tier gem. And this one has a burn effect and increases your critical hit chance as well. If you don't have Rolling Consequence, you can use Mother's Lament. That's another great option. And then for my damage gems, I prefer to use Gloomcast because this one triggers your primary attacks and increases the primary attack damage. So Gloomcast is a great choice for Tempest. And then I use Wolfhard, and this one a good gem as well, and increases your attack speed. And then you can use Voice Spark as well. Some Tempests use Wolfhard combination with Voice Spark, so those are good options. And then for my 2-star gem, I'm using a 2-star gem, and I highly recommend players to use a 2-star gem that increases your damage. So Crimson Behold is a S tier gem for PvP. This one increases damage, it gives you damage reduction, and it has a fear effect. Another good option would be Moonskull. So if you have Moonskull, that's another good gem, increases your damage by a lot by 36%. So if you have Moonskull, you can use Moonskull. If you don't have Crimson Beholder or you don't have Moonskull, you can use Pain Clasp. So Pain Clasp is another good option, and that one increases the damage of your bleed effects, of your burn effects like Rolling Consequence, bleed effect from Blood Flow, um, bleed effect from Sipping Bile, um, Viper's Bite, and it's another good 2-star gem. It's a good affordable option for new players or free-to-play players. So Pain Clasp and bleed effect gems, and then burn effect gem from like Rolling Consequence. So Pain Clasp is another great choice you can use for PvP. I highly recommend. Choice is yours on gems. So I hope you really like to enjoy this guide. And one last thing I want to cover is you want to use 6-piece torture. And this is great whenever you dash, you leave flames behind you and immobilizes your enemies for 2 seconds. So this is really good. And then I use 2-piece lashed, and this is another great option. And then for my charm set, you want to have the skills you use. If you can get a higher percentage, it's good. If you get 2%, that's fine too. And then when it comes to gems, you want to prioritize armor penetration and then potency. Those are your priority. And then when it comes to a seeker path, helliquary for demonic remains, you always want to prioritize fortitude and willpower. On all of them, you want to have fortitude and willpower. And let's look at the leaderboard. And currently I'm rank 1 legend, and I'm doing pretty good with this build. And I wanted to share with other Tempest so they can reach legend. And I hope you like and enjoy. And have fun out there. And have a blessed day. Take care. Please like and subscribe.